this town. Any other thoughts or observations? Because what I actually want to do is to talk very briefly, this is a SWOT analysis. I want to talk very briefly about some of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats that I see as an independent. I think there is value in getting someone from outside the region. I have no political allegiance, I don't know who I'm upsetting, I'm just going to call it as I see it. So I think there is a value in that. Then I'm going to ask that in your groups that you identify, say, one or two strengths, weaknesses and opportunities. So that's 8 ideas, if you like. And then we're going to discuss them table by table around the group. My views about Coffs Harbour's strengths. One of the strengths that I think is critical mass. You have 53,000 people. Go to Dubbo, it's only 35,000 people. 53,000 people is a significant critical mass. You can get a reasonable retail offer. You can get airports in here. You can get institutions at that critical mass. It'd be better if you had 100,000, but I think that's pretty much where you need to be thinking. 53,000, perhaps towards 100,000 by the middle of the century. What sort of community would this look like at 100,000? You have key institutions already in place. You're not fighting for a university, you're not fighting for an airport, you're not fighting for a port. You've actually got these things in place, which means that you can add to them. You don't have institutions like military or CSIRO, although down at Wollongong they have an innovation campus. You know, an innovation campus, can that be an aspect of the local university? In terms of weaknesses, I wonder whether there isn't a weakness that is evident in every town that I would go to in regional Australia, and that is the culture of it's all Canberra's fault, it's all Sydney's fault, it's all the politicians' fault, it's all the council's fault. If we just got some decent people that whatever it is, then all our problems would be solved. Isn't it stunning that every town I go to thinks exactly the same? That it's someone else's fault. You're in business, you know what it's like to get off your backsides and actually make something happen. Don't wait for someone to actually deliver it. I actually have I'll actually pass this around. I write for a magazine called The Deal magazine once a month, and I wrote 300 words on this story that I heard about a month ago about a community making it happen. It's in Merimbula. About in the middle of last year, there were 3 families in Merimbula with an adult disabled child. An adult child, 35 or 40 or whatever, and the parents, then in their 50s and 60s, are very concerned about what happens when they go. The 3 families had been lobbying the state government to actually build a hospital, some sort of care facility. But for 3 kids, you can't do that. The mechanics, they just don't work. What those families did, was to pool their respite funds and rent a house off their own bat, put their kids in there, and then rotated a family member in to look after them, and managed. They did that for the first 2 weeks. It was such a stunning success that eventually the kids were there by themselves, with people visiting, not actually staying overnight. Within a month, the local Rotary, Apex, Lions, everyone had heard of what was happening. The entire community started to own that this is our responsibility, they're our kids, that's our family. This isn't those 3 families' responsibility, this is Merimbula's responsibility. And we see it as our civic duty, a matter of our civic pride to get in there. What odd jobs can be done? How can we help? What can we do? We'll have rosters. The most stunning example of grassroots, ground up, make it happen sort of stuff. Or you can sit back on your backside and just whinge about, is it Macquarie Street and whatever it is not doing. So this tendency, and I call it as I said, because I'm on a 12 o'clock flight, I can get out of here. The cargo cult mentality. No one else is going to be brave enough to say that. That is a weakness in regional Australia. Right between the eyes, that is a problem. It's an always easy default. And in Maringula, it showed that you don't have to do that. That would be a weakness. An opportunity. Yes, the NBN is an opportunity, of course. I don't know a lot about the NBN. The other one that I think is there is a market for, and I mentioned it in the breakfast, for a major de facto capital city at some point between Newcastle and Tweed. Just for government departments, for administration, for business, like AMP or ANZ or CBA or whatever it is. We need someone, sort of there to dominate that entire up the coast, down the coast. There is a natural space in that geography, if you like, for a town to evolve into. How can you actually do that? And the threat that I would see is this issue of fracturing. And I get that there is concern about a fractured community, a split community, but I don't think it is as split as other communities, and the good example being up in the Kimberley with Broome. And that was a particular issue that fractured the community. But if you can actually weld, galvanise, knit the community together, it's just so much easier to bring things together. That's how I would see the SWOT analysis. But you, with your business experience, your management experience, your living experience, your commitment to Coffs, both now and over the longer term, you will have a different perspective. What I want to do is to give you maybe 20 minutes or so, maybe a little longer. We'll wander around the tables. I might ask a couple of facilitators to help, make sure the discussion is progressing. What I want you to do is to identify a scribe in your groups, the first thing, who is going to take notes. The second thing is a speaker. Then you spend 20 minutes, maybe a little longer, identifying two things. And you can fight it out as to what those two things are in strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, threats. So that's 8 points that I will want. And then we're going to report back to the group to see how much overlapping there is. But if you could kick it off, I think we've got a couple of facilitators. It's Jemmy and maybe Steve and a couple of others have agreed to help out. So it's now 10:05. At 10:30, we'll be reporting back.